Well, hello, and welcome back to another video. It is actually quite nice out today, which I am very happy. I think it's in the mid 70s. It was so cold for like 3 weeks straight. It's nice to have some California weather and enjoy being outside and not freezing. But I am very excited to be filming this video. Actually, that's such a lie. I am not excited to film this video. That's so funny. Anywho, as you know by the title, I'm going to be talking about being sick and what I do when I am sick. And we're just going to have a candid discussion about that. So, I have not been sick in probably 2 years. It has been a very long time. I have felt under the weather a lot this past year or so, but I always combat it with a lot of measures that I'll talk about. And this time it got the best of me. I ended up being sick. I got a fever and lots of exhaustion and fatigue, and then that turned into a cough, and then that turned into a runny/stuffy nose. So my body's definitely trying to get that mucus out, and it's lingering, which is terrible. Like, I feel fine other than like the stuffiness and the mucus. But yeah, so what do I do to prevent myself from being sick normally? Well, normally I get enough sleep, so 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and I eat healthy, and that's the biggest downfall to why I think I got sick. Is over the holidays I tend to not eat as healthy because there's cookies and there's a bunch of treats and stuff like that, and I'm eating out by going to parties, so I don't control my diet of what I'm putting in my body. So all that combined definitely weakened my immune system, and then also lack of sleep and the weather and stuff like that just contributed. But that's something that I really pay attention to is my diet. I try to eat a lot of vegetables, a lot of whole foods, a lot of homemade stuff. I'm very restrictive with what I buy at the store, and it's not in a sense of like, I don't view it as like a diet or things like that. It's like I just know about the things in like food and labels, and I just don't want to put that in my body. Obviously sometimes I put it in my body, but I usually don't want to spend my money on stuff like that I know is not going to be beneficial to me. So when I'm out with friends, I put that stuff in my body, but I don't want to pay for it. So that is why I ended up getting sick. Okay, so eating healthy. What are some things that you should avoid? You should avoid high fructose corn syrup. That has a huge one. You should avoid basically anything that is very processed. If you look at the ingredients and you don't know what an ingredient is, or it looks too chemically, or it's very long and you're like, that looks a little suspicious, it's probably because it is suspicious. So just be aware of that. I only shop at Mother's Market, and so they curate their food of what they allow themselves to sell. Like, you will not see Doritos or fruit roll-ups or any of that stuff in the store. But I even take it a step further and I look at the ingredients of the stuff they do sell. And so I'll still buy like chips, but it's healthier chips, and I'll still buy yogurt and things like that, but I'm just a lot more mindful, and I do buy a lot more fresh food. Like, instead of buying fruit snacks, I buy apples. And instead of buying like chips and stuff like that, my snacks are a tortilla with refried beans. So I try to be mindful with those things. Let's see. Okay, so I talked about food. So things that I do when I'm under the weather. I have this tea that I make. I actually got that from Heather Rest. She has an Instagram where she talks about stuff like this. So I've been making this now for, I want to say almost a year, maybe not quite. I don't know when I finally started actually making it, but it's ginger. I also kind of made up my own version of it, so I don't stick to her tea that much, but I got it from her. I do ginger, manuka honey, turmeric, lemon, apple cider vinegar, and star anise. That's usually what I do. And then I just bought cloves because they're also supposed to be good for immune boosting. So I put those 7 things into the tea and I let it steep, and it's so good. I cannot tell you how many times I felt under the weather and then I drink this tea, and I make a lot of it. I make like a good 32 ounces, if not more, sometimes 64 ounces of it. And I don't get sick. It's incredible. I feel something coming on. I start to feel a little under the weather. I drink the tea. Literally a day or 2 later, I'm perfectly fine. So that is a huge immune booster. And then I also started taking supplements. So for a long time, I just did the tea. And then recently, starting in September, is when I started to do supplements as well. So I do elderberry syrup, and then I do vitamin C. It's like a powder you put in water. And then I do zinc, vitamin D, and I believe vitamin K are the ones that I do. And that has been really helpful. I do that also when I'm not sick, but when I'm starting to feel a little bit under the weather, I do the supplements more. And that's just good, especially going into the winter time when you're not getting as much sun and things like that. And obviously the vitamin C is really good for if you're starting to feel under the weather. Elderberry is good for immune system. And then it's just good to have vitamin K as well. So that's something that I do. I also have the Arbonne Super Boost antioxidant shot, which has elderberry and turmeric and acai and a bunch of stuff in that, which is really wonderful. I just ran out of it, which is super sad, but that is something that I also do with my immune boosting stuff. Getting out in sunlight is a huge thing. I know this time of year it's not possible everywhere, but California luckily is pretty much always sunny, so I try to get some vitamin D, even if it's only for 15 minutes, and just feeling the sun on my face is really nice. I don't do it every day, but I try to do it most days, especially when I'm not feeling great. So I talked about all of that. Yeah, I think those are the biggest things, and you have to listen to your body. So I always take this as an opportunity to rest. I've rested a lot the past 2 weeks. It honestly kind of feels like quarantine time when lockdown first happened. I'm actually kind of taking time to rest and be slower, which I don't normally do. Usually I'm go, 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 fast, 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 and I just hope my body can keep up. But this time I'm actually listening to it and trying to be nicer to my body. So that has been a nice wake-up call. I haven't been out a lot, and I haven't been doing all the things. I've been, honestly, other than going to church and seeing maybe 1 or 2 people, that's it. And usually it's literally jam-packed. If I have a free moment, I'm out doing something. I hate sitting still. And so that's been good for me. But I hope this was helpful to you at all, with if you're starting to feel under the weather, giving practical advice and tips for you. Having fresh squeezed orange juice is another big one. I love orange juice in general, but when I'm feeling sick, I just chug that. So I am very thankful for that as well. And my friend, she came over yesterday and she brought me an immunity booster thing from Mother's Market, and it had orange juice and ginger and I think apple cider vinegar and one other thing in it. It was kind of hard to get down, kind of burned a little bit. I think that was the ginger, but good nonetheless. The sun's starting to come out. Give me a little backlight haze. But yeah, just blowing my nose a lot, trying to get the mucus out, and taking it easy. So that is me being sick. It's very humbling because for the longest time I could be I don't get sick or I haven't gotten sick. And so It reminds me of why I live the way that I do and eat the things that I do as well. I love sweets, and so this time of year is like a kryptonite for me. And even when I was sick, this is so terrible to admit because I know that it's like doing the complete opposite, but I had like cookies and brownies and ice cream and things like that. And I know I'm already sick and my immune system is already compromised, and that is just going to inflame. Like that sugar just causes a lot of inflammation. So it's like a double whammy because it's like you're already sick and you're eating something that's going to make you sicker. But it's like the one consolation that I have because I feel sick. It like brings me comfort because it's my comfort food. But yeah, it's a hard time of year because you want to go to all the festivities and you want to eat all the things that taste good that you usually don't let yourself eat. And then it makes you sick. So yeah, a lot of people are sick right now. And so I think it's interesting to see your theory proved right in a sense where I'm like, this is why everyone's sick. It's because they were eating crappy food. It's because the weather's not great. It's because they're not getting their vitamin D. It's because they're probably not sleeping as much. But really, I think food plays a huge factor. And I am a result of that. So I hope you guys have a good day. I hope you're watching this and I hope you're not sick. But sickness is a part of life. Don't be scared of it. Use it as a time of correction. Like, oh, I'm eating crappy food. Okay, alarm bell. I probably shouldn't eat this way. Or I'm not getting enough sleep. I'm working myself too hard. Alarm bell. I should probably rest to get more sleep. Things like that I think is important to listen to and to see what God is trying to show you, not in just the physical sense of that regard, but also what God is trying to show you in this time that you have to yourself to slow down a little bit. Like, I'm used to, this is what's funny, is I'm used to being busy. And so, like, to me, it's like, well, I'm slowing down, I'm inside, but there's still so much I could be doing. Like, I could be editing all these photos, I could be painting, I could be doing all these projects, I could be reading my Bible more, but I'm so tired from the sickness that I don't have the energy to do those things. So even when I'm at home, I feel like I'm not being productive, like I'm just sitting around and lying down and sleeping and resting. But it's a good reminder to myself that I don't need to measure my success or worth in the things that I do or accomplish, and that it's in the simpler, like slower, more mundane things in life that we are still called to honor the Lord. And so that is a good reminder of my, I guess, worth or success or measure of how well I'm doing, because I've been like just watching TV or YouTube videos or like sleeping a lot and just really not doing much. I usually measure how productive and successful my days are by how many people I see or how many things I can get done, how many things I accomplish. And so that's very humbling. It's also kind of like, it's very weird because the days just kind of mull along and they just exist and one bleeds into the next. And so living this way can kind of make you depressed or sad or melancholy because one day just bleeds into the next. Like there's nothing very different that sets each day apart. But again, it's a reminder and the simple mundane things that like we can still find joy and fulfillment in the Lord and that, and we don't have to be doing all these things or seeing all these people to have purpose. And I think that's something that I can measure my success off of a lot. It's like, oh, I saw these people and I had an edifying time and conversation. I helped them in some sort of way, or they helped me, so therefore it was a good use of time. Since I'm not really doing that right now, it's just different. So I am thankful that I started my year off sick and had this time to kind of slow down, reflect a little bit, and then, you know, Lord willing, when I have the energy to start the ground running again with all the different things, that I just do it a little bit more mindfully. and seeking the Lord first in those things of what He wants me to do versus what I want to do, and just not measuring my life off of how productive I can be, and instead just seeing the simplicity of the day that God has before me. So I am really thankful for that. And yeah, we'll see what this next year brings. I'm very excited. It's definitely not how I thought I would start the new year. That's why I haven't posted a video. But it's very fitting to be posting this and sitting down. I wanted to do it while I was still technically sick and not after the fact, so I don't have makeup on. That's why you can kind of hear the mucus in my voice. But yeah. So, Lord willing, I will have a lot of work this year, an abundance of that. I think that's something that I can also, I'll end with this, that's something I can also get kind of down about, is that January I knew would be slow photography wise, but I didn't realize it would be this slow. I thought it would be a little bit busier, and then I started to do the thrift business, and that hasn't taken off the second I started it. So I'm gonna have to put a lot of work into getting the momentum going with that, and laying a lot of groundwork and not seeing the fruit of it, but hoping and praying that there is fruit down the line and that this isn't in vain. But it's definitely a growing season in a lot of my business stuff, and that is kind of painful because you want to see the harvest and you want to see the fruit and you want to see the money, just realistically. And so that has been very humbling for myself. It makes me look at money very differently, because when I had my stable income at REI, I didn't really pay attention to money. It's not like I was making a ton, but I knew how much I was making and I knew it was coming in and when it was gonna come in, and I just adjusted my lifestyle to it to where I wasn't spending too much and I was making and then saving some, but I wasn't budgeting. I wasn't being like, ooh, can I afford this? I lived within my means because I knew what my means were, and it just worked. But now that I don't have that and it's starting to slow down even more, it was fine in November and most of December, living still in that mindset because a lot of photography work was coming in. But now that a lot of work isn't coming in, it is reframing how I look at money and how I look at my money and how I choose what to spend it on. And that's very weird. I don't like living in this way of being very restrictive or feeling very guilty with spending money, but it's just an adjustment, and I know God's going to teach me a lot through it, and I know it will be good for me in the long run. Maybe a little bit more responsible, I was responsible with my money, but in the more traditional adult sense of budget and all of that stuff. So maybe I'll make a video on money in the future once I learn more and have a little bit more of an understanding of what I want to say. But enough of my rambling. Obviously, it's been a little bit since I filmed a video, and I'm just excited to talk. But I'm excited for whatever topic God has me talk about next. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye.